Greetings. I just saw an amazing movie. I mean, amazing. So I downloaded a picture to use as the thumbnail for this video that will show an image from the movie, but it's the look I had on my face most of the movie as well. Don't Breathe is a fantastic psychological thriller. It is not a horror movie. It is not like Saw. It's not torture porn. It is not overly gory. There's gore in it. It is realistic in its setup and its execution. There was no moment in the movie where I went, oh, this is so typical. There's no moment in the movie where you're like rooting against the heroes. See, the nice thing with this movie is there's no real hero in it. It is a survival movie. So the setup is this. Three youngins, I'll call them youngins. Towards the end of the movie, they're referred to as teens, and I'm like, they're not fucking teens. They're not teenagers. Jane Levy, I love Jane Levy a lot. She was born in '89. Teenagerhood was left behind a long time ago for her. Nothing to destroy my crush on her, but she's 27 right now, so she's not a teenager. Does she look young? Maybe, but I can tell she's not a teenager in this movie. Maybe that's why she went blonde to look younger, but she's not a teenager. But that's a side point. It doesn't matter. Okay. So the setup is this. These three teens want to go to California and they need money. So they live in Detroit. Detroit sucks. And it's really set up in this movie that, living in the suburbs of Detroit is crap for these people. And they're not happy. There's not a big setup. Jane Levy's character, Rocky, is given a backstory. The other two teens are not, really. There's a minor thing with Alex to do with his dad. Money, as his character's called. I don't even remember his real name in the movie, if it's ever actually uttered. Money is a prick. He's a prick from the first time you see him till the last time you see him. There's nothing redeeming about Money. If I had a criticism of the movie, it would be the idea that Rocky, the character, gets involved with Money because he's just an asshole. And I just cannot for a moment believe that this character, Rocky, who is a very strong woman, would be involved with this guy, who's an asshole. So throughout the movie, I found myself engrossed in what was happening as these three teens decide they're going to rob people to get their money to go to California, and there's a big score. And that big score is at this guy's house. He's a war veteran. His daughter died. This is all stuff that's known in the trailer as well, so I'm not spoiling anything. And then the idea is when they get into this house, they realize really quickly they're in over their heads. He is crazy. But you put yourself in this position, and it's like, okay, so you realize that these youngins have come into. I'm not calling them teenagers because they're not. These youngins have come into your abode, your sanctuary, and you're recluse, and this is your home. All right, and you're blind, so you're gonna feel like, wow, somebody's trying to take advantage of me. You're probably gonna snap. So it's hard not to pull for him. But there's enough things that happen in this movie that by the end you're like, yeah, no, there's some karma on everybody's side here. All of these people in this movie probably deserve to die because karma is karma. But it is a fantastic movie with a fantastic setup and a fantastic payoff. I stated before I saw this movie that I would include spoilers in my review and that I'd have a dividing line where I wouldn't include spoilers. You know what? I'm not. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to include spoilers even for people who've seen it. Okay, and I'm not going to have. I don't want any spoilers in the comments either. And it's not a Star Wars Force Awakens type that like, oh, there's this big shocking twist. There's no M. Night Shyamalan movie moment in this. And the acting that is done by the main characters is fantastic. Stephen Lang isn't really asked to act very much as the blind man, but when he does, you both feel his pain for everything that's brought him to this point in his life, and you really want him to die at the same time. Fede Alvarez in this movie did callbacks to Evil Dead. If you see this movie, and if you watched my Evil Dead review earlier, you know I love Evil Dead. He did callbacks to Evil Dead. He has now incorporated things into his movies that Sam Raimi clearly influenced. Before the movie, when they were doing the opening logo scroll, and of course, every movie now is created by 20 different movie studios, but when I saw Ghost House Pictures was the last image before they start the movie, I was like, okay, Raimi was in on this. Ghost House Pictures, Raimi had something to do with this, which is good, because he does borrow Raimi's camera style is used. There's foreshadowing of a Raimi material in this. I picked it up right away. I smiled and I said to my son, I said, see that? That's foreshadowing. It's beautiful because it's very subtle, but it's in a Raimi style. And then there are moments where Jane Levy is violent in this movie, and I said out loud, "Go Mia, go," during the movie because she was Mia in those moments, and it was fantastic. And it was really well done, and it wasn't done in a way where if you're watching this movie and you haven't seen Evil Dead, you're going to go, that was kind of out of character. No, it's all in character. Everything sets up everything else that happens after, and it gradually ramps its way up. So you're like, okay, well, maybe they can escape the situation if, oh, they can't. Maybe they can escape, nope. Maybe they, no, they can't escape that either. And it just keeps getting more intense. So that by the end of the movie, it's at this furious height of terror. There was even a callback in this movie to Cujo. And I said I would swear less on this channel than I do on my hockey channel. I just swore. Whoops. I love Fede Alvarez somehow shoehorning in there. You got to look close. You don't really have to look close. But again, he pays homage to Cujo in this movie. Brilliant. Just brilliant how it's done, how it's seamless. It fits into the movie. It's fantastic, but I was like, that is an homage to Cujo. That is awesome. And I am so glad I watched this movie. And I can say honestly, when the movie ends, it's abrupt. And it's ended in such a way that you go, so sequel? Doesn't need to be a sequel. They could go without a sequel. But they could do a sequel. How would they do a sequel? They can. They could. They might. Maybe? Could they? Maybe? So, if I had to rate this, and if I'm going to start my own movie and TV thing, I'm going to do a rating system. I'll do a star system out of 5. This movie, right now coming out of it, I'm going to say 5 out of 5. When I come down off this high that I'm on after having just seen a movie. I learned this with Star Trek Into Darkness. Sometimes that high you have coming out of a movie doesn't stand up to repeated viewings. I don't know how many repeated viewings I'll have of Don't Breathe. I know I'll watch it a couple of times because Jane Levy is the queen now, in my eyes, of any movie that involves screaming. I'm not going to say Scream Queens because that's just horror movies, and this was not a horror movie. Don't let the trailer fool you. This is not a horror movie. You have to pay attention to this movie, and you don't spend a lot of time going, oh, these people are so stupid. What are they doing that for? They really don't do that. The characters don't do really stupid things like you'll see in a Friday the 13th or Elm Street movie. There's some smart moves made by the characters, and the villain, are they the villains? Is the blind guy the villain? It's a fluid thing where you're kind of, oh, I feel bad for him. Oh, I feel bad for them. Oh, I really feel bad for him. Oh, you know what? I just want everybody to die. You go through all these emotions, and in the end, it is this amazing roller coaster ride that you've taken with these characters and the villain, and you're kind of sad it's over, and it leaves everything kind of open. Because there's all kinds of questions I started, as soon as the movie was done, I turned to my son and I started asking questions like, wait, no, they didn't tie this part up. They didn't tie that up. They didn't tie, like all these things I look at and I say, these are all windows that Fede Alvarez could write a second movie. Or he can leave it. It's fine on its own. It is one of those rare movies that can stand on its own, and you're not going to sit there at the end, throw your arms in the air, and swear and yell at the screen. That doesn't happen. So if you're thinking, oh great, there's a cliffhanger. No, there isn't. But there's openings that you look at and go, huh, you could do a sequel with this. So, highly recommended. I'll give it 4.5 stars out of 5 because I know eventually, over time, my euphoria will drop. But 4.5 stars out of 5. Highly recommended. This was a movie that I really felt. I felt it. I didn't have to turn away from the screen very much. There are bone-cracking moments in the movie that you wince and go, oh, because you feel it. And again, this movie is very real. There's no CGI at any point in this movie. There's no over-the-top, stupendous ending. There's no big, huge reveal and all these people and all this shit that they have to add to horror movies these days. I swore again. That it just doesn't happen. This is a contained, small, claustrophobic movie that has few characters, doesn't go into a lot of detail on backstory. It is 89 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not. It doesn't pretend to be some really deep, long philosophical movie. It just gets to the point. It gets there fast, and then you're done. And you're walking out of the movie going, "Wow, that was awesome." I don't know if this movie's going to make a lot of money. I get the feeling that because you don't have a big star, Jane Lee, I love her to death, but she's not a big star. And none of the other actors are really big stars, like Stephen Lang, who plays the blind guy. You'd know him as the bad general guy in Avatar. And you know, he's a name, but people don't go to a movie just to see Stephen Lang. So he's a legit badass in this movie. If I'm in half as good a shape as he is when I get to his age, I can rule the world. He is intimidating as hell in this movie. And you really feel that when he gets his hand around somebody's neck, it's over. You really get that feeling. And it's nice to get that feeling from a movie that doesn't involve Jason Voorhees or Freddy or some supernatural element, that this is still a human being, but you know, as soon as he's got him, it's done. Done, they're dead. Or at the very least, they're not winning the fight anymore. And you do have that moment where you're like, okay, you're within arm's reach. You might want to, oh, never mind. So there are those moments, but there are no moments where you go, oh, this guy's so stupid. No, I can't say there's no moments. There's one, but it's understandable. It's very understandable. You know, it is a moment where a character makes a decision and you go, you could have lived. But, you know, there's movies you watch where somebody has, and I'm really trying hard not to spoil this, somebody has an out. You know, you have an out. There's a tidal wave coming, and you can get to high ground. You've got a vehicle, but you just remembered you forgot your cat. You want to save your cat, so you go running back to save your cat. Now the tidal wave's probably going to kill you, but you just couldn't live with yourself if you left your cat behind. And there's a moment like that in this movie. So you're going, oh, seriously, don't, dude, chick, whoever I'm talking about. I'm not spoiling it. But you still go, yeah, I can't say I blame that person in that situation. I can't. You know, is it a standard movie moment? Is it cliched? A little bit. But not every moment in every movie and every moment in life is original. So there's that. Anyways, great movie, fantastic moments all the way through, and I enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, and now I get to see Suicide Squad.